everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Quack Podcast. I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. That's right. We're reviewing three shows in a row on the Dr. Quack Podcast that were actually good. Yeah. Are you feeling all right, Doctor?
I think I'm feeling fine. Yep.
Yep, because we got to review...
Get used to it.
We got to review WrestleMania 21, which... This is the last time the WWF was in Hollywood before the current one coming up this year in 2023.
Yeah, I got to actually watch this show live, so I was pretty happy. I was in the States at this point, just out of the military. So, yeah, I'll get into more of that.
And I was not yet in Iraq for the second time, so I also got to watch it. But at this time, I didn't watch a lot of wrestling, so a lot of the storylines I didn't fully remember. And a couple of them, thank God I didn't.
Yeah. This show took place on April 3rd, 2005 at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, the place they play basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. The stars were out in forth. They showed them all throughout the night. People like Billy Gibbons was there, Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, and a bunch of others, to include Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah sitting out in the crowd pretending to be celebrities.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood.
Yeah, and exactly. That's what their tagline was. WrestleMania goes Hollywood. That's right, pal. Yeah, all that stuff. But, yeah, we got on commentary. We had for Raw, we had Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. Yes, and we also had on SmackDown Michael Cole and Taz.
They're actually okay. They weren't horrible here. And I'm doing this because this entire main event, the main event getting ready to come up, I'll talk about this more in a few minutes.
Yeah. Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Sanovich over there on Spanish commentary.
Yes, and they're always great. If you actually listen to the Spanish commentary that they actually do, they're very, very good commentary and play-by-play guys. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, sometimes turn it over onto SAP and then put the closed caption. They really do a great job.
They do. And ring announcers, we had Tony Chimmel over there at SmackDown and Howard Finkel on Raw.
Yeah, and we got the not yet ring announcer, Lillian Garcia, singing America the Beautiful. I believe this is the first time she actually sings America the Beautiful.
Yes, and she did a wonderful one.
I will say, yes, she has a really, really great voice. She does have a singing career. She has put out several albums. She's a much better singer. I actually got a little bit of shivers in a good way because of how good her voice is and how well she sings. But when it comes to ring announcing, I get other shivers, and those are the ones because, ooh, I had to listen to her talk again.
And referees, we had Nick Patrick, Jimmy Coderas, Brian Hebner, Chad Patton, Earl Hebner, Mike Chioda, and Jack Doan.
Yep, there wasn't very many referees on here, which was good. There wasn't a lot going on, but before we got started, like they're doing this year in the 2023 version, they're doing knockoff movies where they have the WWE people doing famous parts to other movies. So they actually showed some of them. They showed a bunch of them they showed a few of them right before the show started. So we got Eugene as Forrest Gump. Eugene deserves so much better.
He did.
Booker T and Eddie Guerrero as Vincent and Jules from Pulp Fiction. Triple H as Braveheart. John Cena was Lionel Caffey from A Few Good Men, or the Tom Cruise part. And we get JBL as Jack Nicholson, You Can't Handle the Truth. That was actually good. Taker was Dirty Harry, which was kind of appropriate. Christy Hemme as Meg Ryan from When Harry Met Sally. Rey Mysterio and Bradshaw and a few others did various parts of Taxi Driver. You talking to me? So that's where that comes from. Christian Benoit and Stacy Keibler did Basic Instinct. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin was Gladiator.
Yes. I mean, all of them were pretty good, I thought.
They all actually are kind of funny in their own way, especially if you watch them now, 18 years later. They're a lot funnier than they were at the time. At that time, it was, ugh, come on, Vince, stop that. But now it's like, yes, let's watch that.
It's amazing how it held up through time. But we're going to move into the opening match here. Rey Mysterio against Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, this was a SmackDown match. I'm going to point this out right from the get-go. Well, I am not a huge fan of Eddie Guerrero. I enjoyed his work. I didn't think he was a Hall of Famer. This is the last time Eddie Guerrero will appear on a WrestleMania. He dies in October of this year. This is April, so we've got 5 months before he passes away. But this was a really good match. This was Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were the tag team champions of SmackDown, and this is the first time the champions had faced off in a one-on-one match in WrestleMania. And it was a very, very good storytelling match. This was very lucha, but it was very well-paced. I enjoyed this match a lot. I went 3 stars.
Yeah, that's exactly what I went. I went 3 stars on here. I felt like this was a great setting of the table. This is the standard. Like, I would compare this with Owen and Brett at WrestleMania 10. I felt this was very good, very well drawn. 2 great guys that know each other, know how to work in the ring together. This is how you want to start a WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was a really, really good way, and it really did do a good job of setting the table.
Yeah, moving along here, we had the very first inaugural Money in the Bank match. We had Edge, Chris Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Benoit, Christian with Tyson Tomko, and Kane.
Yeah, Chris Jericho is credited with inventing the idea of the Money in the Bank ladder match. And so it was appropriate that not only was he the first one in, he was the first one announced to come out as well.
Yes.
And it's amazing how important this match became. It is now considered for one of the big 5 of the pay-per-views. No longer 4 with Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It is now big 5. That's how important this match is.
It was. I really enjoyed this match. I went 3.5 stars. I felt like this was a very strong match to have there at the number 2 position. Because a lot of times that's called the bathroom break match. This was not a bathroom break match at all. This was something they wanted to see how it went, and it really went well. And that's why it continued on. I thought that, Kane did a great job in this match for a big man because, he's 6'10". Everybody else around that 6 foot mark. But, he really handled himself well. Shelton Benjamin was really great in this match as far as the athletic ability, being able to take the bumps, along with Jericho and Edge and Benoit. They all just worked really well together.
Yeah, they all had great chemistry together. And, yeah, Kane is one of the few big men that's been involved in ladder matches, with the exception of Mike Awesome. Think about any other person over 6'5" who's ever done a ladder match. I'll wait, because there aren't many.
There are not many.
And this match was really solid. I also went 3.5. This one was not overdone. They didn't go too fast. They let all the stories develop. They didn't immediately jump out and try and grab ladders and set them up. They actually made the ladders mean something. This was great storytelling all the way through. WWE watched this old ladder match and the one between Shawn Michaels and Razor to remember how ladder matches are supposed to be done.
Exactly. Moving along here,
we're going to move on to a segment, which I know you didn't write
I figured you did. Go ahead.
So we had Eugene come down there and tell everybody it was great to be here at WrestleMania. And then we get to see an often forgotten character, Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. Now, Muhammad Hassan was a very controversial character. He was born in the United States, but he is of Arab descent. And this is really big when Iraqi freedom and
Enduring Freedom.
Enduring Freedom, thank you, the Afghani one, were really starting to become a lot more violent and a lot more dangerous. And Muhammad Hassan played on that with the WWF, and it went very, very well. The problem was it went too well, because in about 3 months, there's going to be a bombing in London in a double-decker bus. And the Taliban that did it said they got the influence and idea to do it from Muhammad Hassan. So Muhammad Hassan really tapped into something, and they retired the character because UPN made WWF retire it or said, we will not put you on TV. That's how much Muhammad Hassan was. He now is a school principal, so good job for Muhammad Hassan. But this brought Hulk Hogan out to a bunch of ear clapping and posing. It was a nice little break after 2 really great solid matches to kind of let the crowd decompress a little and have a little fun.
Yes, we talk about heel heat and lightning heat. This drew the lightning heat. This is where things went beyond the wrestling world, and as you can see, it got canceled. That was a very rough thing for him.
Yeah, he took it really hard. He stayed out of wrestling for about 15 years. He ended up wrestling again in 2018 for about 6 months. and then he realized he was too old, and he went back to being just a full-time principal. So I'm glad to see Muhammad Hassan or Adam Kopali is actually doing a great thing.
Yes. Moving along here, we had The Undertaker taking on Randy Orton. And I got to tell you, for Undertaker matches at Mania, it's a hit and miss. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really bad. I felt like this was a really good match. I felt like them two had the chemistry there. Bob Orton involved as well. I mean, he got a nice payday. I actually went 3.5 stars on this.
And I didn't.
He did.
At this time, Randy Orton, they had made him the youngest world champion in 2004. I think it was in August of 2004. And then immediately kicked him out of Evolution. The reason all of that happened, they put the title on him because Brock Lesnar had just left and he was the youngest world champion. They didn't think Brock Lesnar was ever coming back, so they wanted to get him out of the record books as nicely and easily as they could. The problem was Randy Orton was drunk all the time and he was doing drugs. He had a problem with opening his mouth, not showing up, so it was a very short-lived thing. And basically him facing The Undertaker was punishment. Now, Undertaker managed to start getting him going back on the right path, but I really felt they didn't have chemistry. There was a lot of botches and a lot of things that didn't look right and a lot of misses in this match. I only went 2.5.
Wow.
The ref bump was at least appropriate to have Earl Hebner get bumped so that Ace Cowboy, because he just got into the Hall of Fame, we'll go over that in a little bit, got to come out and be involved. But the finish was very good. So I can see why you went 3.5, probably because of the finish, mostly because that was really good.
That was good setup.
But a lot of the middle and beginning of this match that was really, really sloppy, and I couldn't give it enough, the finish that was great, enough to put it over 2.5.
Well, there you go. That makes a lot of sense. But now we're going to move into my 2-finger salute because this match was ridiculous. If you thought that was bad, we had Christy Hemme taking on Trish Stratus for the women's title. You know, we talk about, today's wrestling with women wrestlers and how great they are and how well they do. But yet, this is where it went almost into the Diva era. This was into that transition because Christy Hemme was one of those who went to Tough Enough, ended up getting there, became a Diva, posed in Playboy, and really didn't do jack shit. See, the problem was Trish Stratus, a Hall of Fame wrestler, had to pretty much carry this match. And it was a 4-minute match, and it looked like straight ass. I get it. For the, aesthetics here, yeah, everything there was great. But outside that, it was straight garbage. So to me, this gets my 2-finger salute, and I'm giving it 2 stars only because Trish Stratus and Lita were technically involved in this match.
I went 1.5 for basically the same reason. I probably should go with 2, but I'm going to stay with 1.5. Now, Christy Hemme didn't win Tough Enough. She won the Diva Search.
There it is, Diva Search. Excuse me.
The $250,000 Diva Search, which at that time WWF really did give her a $250,000 contract for 1 year. The problem was when they focused on her aesthetics and not her athletics, they realized she couldn't bump and she kept knocking herself out. She retired from wrestling about 1.5 years later because she had so many concussions she couldn't function anymore in the ring. So, yeah, you could tell Trish took good care of her. I will say Trish did not abuse her, did not take liberties, which again, we've explained that means to do it harder on purpose to punish somebody.
And she really could have if she wanted to.
Yeah, Trish could have taken a lot of liberties. She didn't take liberties with Jackie Gata. She didn't take liberties with Christy Hemme. So Trish Stratus is a true professional and a Hall of Famer and deserves all the accolades she could get. Christy Hemme should have stayed out of the wrestling business. She actually went over to Impact and was their ring announcer for a while. And luckily now she's out pumping out kids, doing things other than being on my television.
There you go. And we go from my 2-finger salute to a quack attack. Because this match was a dream match on its own right, in my opinion. Yes, the championship matches were great, but this match, Kurt Angle against Shawn Michaels, this was 2 well-defined wrestlers that could come out there and tell a story with their moves, and they worked it so well. This match ended up going 27 minutes. And it was worth all 27 minutes. It really felt like 15. I could have seen it gone another 20 itself. These guys worked this story. The finish was phenomenal. Just the ankle lock and Michaels constantly trying to break out of it. This is how you tell a story. This was definitely probably, to me, the match of the night. I gave this match 4 stars.
Yeah, this was definitely great storytelling, and the way they even built it up made sense because Shawn Michaels, when he came down, rappelling down to the ring, was in 1996. Kurt Angle won his gold medal in 1996. And the story that Kurt Angle talks about where people ask him, hey, can you do that stuff like Shawn Michaels? Who's the better wrestler between the two of you? Was actually real. That was something that really did happen. Now, Kurt Angle took it far more in stride than they put over in the story. But the entire story of this, of amateur wrestling versus catch as cat can, entertaining athlete versus athlete who can entertain. It was an incredible story all the way through. They used the Bob Backlund, Bret Hart of hold that finishing submission hold for a long time. Don't immediately tap out. Work it. Try and figure out how to get out of it. I went 4 1/4. This thing was incredible.
I could definitely go with that.
And also I will say, this was one from SmackDown, one from Raw. They actually started this in WrestleMania. But we got the King and Jerry Lawler calling this match. That's what made it 4 1/4. Because if we'd have got Michael Cole and Taz, it probably would not have been as good.
And when you go so high as far as momentum in wrestling, you must come down a little bit. And that's what we got here with two things. First, we're going to talk about Piper's Pit. I loved Piper's Pit on this episode. Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin interacting with each other. This was a good break spot to cool it down, to keep the fans kind of entertained, but not expecting, expectations beyond the roof after seeing that match with Angle and Michaels. But then you had Carlito come out.
Yeah, Piper's Pit. Roddy Piper came down there, and this is at the height of the what era, which really is annoying. I understand why Stone Cold did it. He actually doesn't hear great, so he's been accused of being too loud and calling spots. So he made fun of it by starting the what chant to, this instead of it doesn't matter what your name is, it'd be what? So the crowd was really into that, and I enjoyed how Roddy Piper took advantage of the crowd and made them look small for trying to use the what chants on him. And Carlito coming out, it was a nice thing. It worked well. Of course, typical Steve Austin fashion, he stuns everybody. I'm surprised the cameraman's never been stunned. And on out the door drinking beer. But it was you're right. As we talked about before, filler is important.
Yes, because you had this segment, and then you had the sumo match. Big Show taking on Akebono.
Yes, Akebono Taro. He is truly, now we're going to break into a little understanding of sumo wrestling. You've heard of the wrestler Yokozuna, who was a sumo wrestler. Rodney Onowai was a sumo wrestler. But a true Yokozuna is the grand champion of the sumo sport in the country of Japan. Rodney was never a Yokozuna. Akebono was a Yokozuna. He was the first Yokozuna from the United States. He was born in Hawaii to be a grand champion of sumo. And as they said, he's 6'8", 497 pounds.
Yes. But see, this was also when Big Show was going through his crisis, when he was out being the showster, and he was out playing a sumo wrestler here, and all the other gimmicks that he decided to pull out.
Yeah, when they decided to show that Paul White actually is a very, very funny guy, when he was the Big Show Boski and the Showster and Shokishi and a few others. Well, yeah, they did the sumo because Akebono came out and challenged him. And Big Show did have a few sumo matches. He hadn't competed much, but he did have a few sumo matches.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, again, this was filler with Piper's Pit. They were trying to cool it down a little bit before they went into the 2 title matches. But I mean, honestly, this was about 2 stars. This was okay to watch. Did it really belong? That's debatable, but it didn't really overcite me here.
I went 2 stars. I put it was worth watching. I did enjoy it because Vince McMahon has always been about bringing other aspects of the culture into the wrestling culture and bringing the sumo culture in a little bit and actually showing it some respect. And doing it properly, giving it a nice respect, bringing in an actual sumo referee, giving and doing all the explaining. You could tell somebody was in Cole's ear to explain what was going on. But it was done very well. It was done with class. So I gave it 2 stars. It was worth watching. I can't say I hated it.
There you go. So now we'll move on here to John Cena taking on John Bradshaw Layfield for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, the SmackDown title, that's what I wrote down here. It was hard to keep track of what they used to call the WWE, WWF title. It was a unified title, then it was the Universal title, then it was the
World way after.
Well, no, they called it Universal title once, and then they quickly decided they didn't like that name, so then it just became the World title, then it was the WWE title. I could never keep track, so it was the SmackDown title.
Okay.
And this was Big Match John taking on Big Match John, but this didn't have a big match feel.
No. And I will tell you this, the interviews and the promo sections of JBL in this show were way better than this match. He at least tried to build this up with Triple H talking about how he was going to walk out with this championship with Orlando Jordan and Ric Flair involved in that.
Yeah, and this is to explain a little bit about why JBL became the world champion. He held this belt for a long time. This is really when the start of Raw and SmackDown, when they would have the drafts. And they split up the APA. Well, at this time, they realized they really didn't have anybody that was a quality contender on SmackDown. And they looked back and realized JBL was really good at doing something called kayfabe word of the day, upgrade. When you are an upgrade, you are the person who builds stars to make them world title contenders. JBL may not have been a world champion by himself, but he was a competent enough worker to make more than one star, so he was an upgrade. Kayfabe word of the day. And he did a great job of turning John Cena into a main eventer who became the real Big Match John.
Yes, his first WWE Championship here. John Cena, really good with this. I mean, the match, like I said, I gave it 3 stars. It's just, when you're trying to follow what was prior to that, now it's just not going to equal out.
I went 2.5, but I'm going to bump it to 2 3/4 because JBL really did a good job of carrying Cena along. Cena didn't need a lot of carrying, but he brought that final thing that John Cena needed, was his connection with the crowd, where it started becoming the polarizing character that he was. But you can thank JBL for that more than John Cena.
Yeah, and now we're going to move into the main event.
We're going to move into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, let's do that first, yeah.
Because this is an important Hall of Fame, because
it is.
We brought out Mean Gene Okerlund here. Now, the 2004, we talked about that when we reviewed the 2004, that class was probably one of the biggest classes that had Big John Studd, and it had Bobby the Brain Heenan and several other people. This one's not bad by itself either. We had Cowboy Bob Orton, who was on the show, Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, Paul Orndorff, Jimmy Hart, Roddy Piper, and Hulk Hogan. Now, the reason I say it's a big deal is because Hulk Hogan is one of the 2 people who at one time or another was technically kicked out of the Hall of Fame. Hogan's was at the time when he had said some disparaging thing about his daughter dating a black man and the sex tape that came out. So for a while, WWE distanced itself. He was never officially taken off of their page, but he was basically written out of history for a while. The other one is Sonny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's part of why I brought it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so many guys on this list here, they definitely deserve their Hall of Fame. I mean, that's why I was like, yeah, this is definitely one of the better ones I've seen.
Yeah, it was good, and the storytelling of it was good, like Stallone inducting Hulk Hogan, Randy bringing out his dad. A lot of people forget the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov were also tag team champions together.
Yes.
And Paul Orndorff, it was great to see Orndorff. He looked really good at this time. He didn't have the long, goofy mustache. He looked good. Jimmy Hart putting over his megaphone like he always did. Piper came out because he had just been in the segment. He didn't really have time to get changed. But it was good. It was a good reception that WWF does do very well. Takes care of its legends.
Yeah. Now, main event.
Yeah. I actually like this one.
Of course you did. I know you did. I really did not care for it a lot. And this is why, okay? At this point, for me personally, this is one of my higher points in professional wrestling. I enjoyed this year for me. Had a lot of great things. But it was always funny backstage when you talk to a lot of the boys on the independent scene. You would always just look at it on message boards. Remember those back in the days? All I saw was, "Congratulations, Dave!" And this was like as soon as it was announced that he was going to WrestleMania. He's like, you're going to win the title. You knew he was going to win Mania because they were setting it up the same as last time with Randy Orton. This one just got a bigger kick on it because it was WrestleMania. I thought the match was okay. There wasn't really anything technically wrong with it. I went 3 stars, and this is, again, trying to compare this to what Michaels and Angle did. They really stole that show, in my opinion, from that point forward.
Yeah, again, this was Triple H with Ric Flair taking on Batista, a.k.a. the Thumb Wars.
Yes.
Because this all started with Triple H telling Randy Orton, and then it became Batista said this to Triple H, so Triple H said this to Batista. It really was like a thumb war. But Triple H made this match. I know you're not a huge Triple H fan.
He carried it well.
Batista, a.k.a. Mr. Skinny Jeans. He's not known to be a great worker. He doesn't sell great. He has a lot of crowd chemistry, but the more he has to wrestle, the less people care about him. So they tried to hide him the best they could by making him things like Leviathan and making the Animal where he destroyed things. Well, Triple H made people care about Batista. Now, he's a 6-time world champion, but can you tell me anybody he faced when he was holding those 6 belts after he won them? I'll wait. Very lackluster title belts. But yes. Triple H made the crowd care about it. This match was 100% Triple H slow building to start, making this thing mean something, making the slow build, draw the crowd in, build the intensity, built the big fight feel. I went 3.5, mostly because of Triple H's work. I'm a huge Triple H fan. And this time here we get Motorhead playing his theme music. Here it's appropriate because it was in the main event. In WrestleMania 19, where we get Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit playing Rollin', and the second match, we didn't need that. But here it made sense because you can spectacle a main event a little bit, and here it was appropriate.
And there you go, folks. There's the end of our show here. WrestleMania 21 in the books. And now, you enjoy these great shows.
I remember what you said. You said we're in trouble, right? When I talked about that we had gotten 3 in a row. Oh, boy. Are we staying in WrestleMania?
Of course. This is our final WrestleMania.
It's our final WrestleMania. So 9 has already been done. We can't get 9. Yeah. We've done 11, 12, and 13. We can't go back to those.
We haven't done those yet.
Yes, we did. We did 11, 12, and 13. You did those. We did those a while ago. Remember, we talked about Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
We're
going to go to this, folks.
I'm trying to think. What's another bad one?
Right here.
Right there's a... Director, get me my Zoloft.
Yes, and make sure you tune in here next. And make sure you tune in here next show, as it is the Dr. Quack Podcast 6-year anniversary. Till then, I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. I'm really hoping I can make it through because I still have to watch this thing before we review it next week.
And we'll see you next time. It smells minty.